Hey friends, Mark Holmes here with my buddy CowboyJobu, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Jobu Sports Report. Because without you guys, well, I'd still be sitting here talking about the Dallas Cowboys. It's just nice to have company around while I'm doing this. Well, first thing I gotta say is pour yourself a refill. For all of you guys out there that ordered your shot glasses, definitely fill her up. We've got some news. Zeke Elliott is back in the news. And there's pictures. You probably already heard about this, but after all the stuff that's been going on this year between Boobygate, him going to the nightclub, with his friends, and one of his friends brings a gun in there and all that, and we heard the stories about Zeke Elliott is hanging out with a thug, and a guy carried a gun, and he's being held by the police, but it turns out he had nothing to do with any of that. Then, of course, there was Boobygate, where he pulled down, in what seemed to be like a Mardi Gras event, pulled down the girl's top. And, of course, then there was the Miami incident where they said that the Coast Guard boarded his yacht that wasn't his yacht. None of this stuff is really amounts to much. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, ladies. Pulling down her top. That wasn't right. Even though, if you're watching part of the other video that I brought out, that the girl behind them was pulling her top down at the same time and popping it back up. So there may have been some other stuff going on there, that this was just flashing boobs, okay? And that is bad. Although there's other players out there that are doing far worse stuff. Domestic violence and things like that. Drinking and driving and drug possession and things like that. That not anywhere near being covered like Boobygate was, but be that as it may. So the latest thing, I'm sitting here driving home from working in West Virginia, passing another Sunday without football, and I see Zeke Elliott in the news again. So I'm like, oh, Lord, 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 Lord. Was it now? Well, he's in ESPN, The Body Issue, coming up in July. It's like, really? If that wasn't clickbait, I don't know what was. So, it's good to see that we're getting some good news on Zeke Elliott. That body that some of you guys out there have been talking about. I think Zeke's put on a few pounds. He might not be in shape. Well, we'll find out for sure come July 7th, because he'll be in The Body Issue, and I guarantee you that shit will be letter perfect. So don't worry about Zeke. We're good. Now, what I tell you really makes me feel good. Guys, I told you I've been privileged to work with United Way and the NFL in doing all kinds of different charity events. And see, unfortunately, what we hear about in the news all the time is whenever an NFL player does something wrong, that's plastered all over the place. But I haven't actually worked with a lot of different players, because I know people have focused, for example, on Cam Newton, saying Cam Newton is a thug. That he's got the whole Superman stuff, and he's got this attitude that, maybe he's a gang member or something. But see, this is a true story. I actually got to drive Cam Newton around for a couple of days. He was here for a youth symposium. And see, Cam doesn't look for the limelight for the stuff that he does outside of football. Each of these players, we had like 21 players that came to D.C. about this time of year. It was in July, about 4 years ago, and spent 3 days here bringing in youth and even petitioned Congress. Not that shit got happened, other than the congressmen were happy to meet these great players and stuff. But we had like Calais Campbell, Vinny Ray, Cam Newton, a lot of really nice, solid citizen football players that you don't hear about other than if they do something wrong. But Cam Newton went to the worst city in Charlotte, went to the principal and said, I want your 3 worst students. because I'm going to mentor them and make sure that they do right, they graduate. And one of those kids, the week before we were about to have the symposium, got in trouble. Cam said, I'm sorry, you're not going. I'm not rewarding bad behavior. But every week, Cam goes to the school and works with these kids. Not just these kids, because there's other events and stuff that he goes through and things where they had underprivileged kids that went to a sporting goods store. They had no idea what was going on. 150 of them. Out walks Cam Newton. Gives them each a $200 gift certificate so they can buy Christmas presents for their family. We don't hear about those kind of good things that are going on the field. So it makes me feel good to know that Dak Prescott is doing a quarterback camp where he's got over 1,400 kids that he's mentoring and telling about dreams and about getting an education, because these NFL players have so much power. You know, I could talk to a kid all day long and say, you know what? If you work hard, you get your education, you get a degree, you're going to be great in life. And you know what happens? You in this year and you out that one. But United Way had a program with Nnamdi Asomugha. Josh Cribbs was another one of them, and I believe Calais Campbell was another one of them. They actually went to these kids' door that were having problems at school, knocked on the door, and these kids answered. How you doing? I'm Calais Campbell from the Arizona Cardinals, now the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm here to mentor you and make sure you graduate. That's what I'm talking about. People who realize it's bigger than just me in football. It's about me doing good for other people. That guy is Dak Prescott, the leader of my Dallas Cowboys. He's worked with United Way in character education. He's doing his youth camps. He's getting and understands about what he can do, not only for his team, but for the world. And that, my friends, is a leader. And that is the headlines that you don't see that we should, as opposed to Boobygate. I hope to one day have the privilege of working with Dak Prescott. I've worked with Brandon Carr. In fact, I got to drive Brandon Carr around in my car. Brandon Carr, I wish that he had been that Pro Bowl corner. But when it comes to life off the field and giving back, Brandon Carr is an all-pro. And there's a lot of those great guys out there. And I will say that we have a lot of them on the Dallas Cowboys. Sean Lee, another one. Jason Witten was at his youth camp. So my hat's off. And this shot of rum is to all you football players that give back to the community, because we definitely need you guys for tomorrow. I'm Mark Holmes. This is CowboyJobu. And Dak, if you ever need help with a playground build or community repair, I'm your guy. Have a great weekend, guys, and CowboyJobu here, and I am in a state of shock. The Panthers are down 16-7, and this is the end of the third quarter. Looks like Father Time didn't catch up with Peyton Manning.